behalf of Electrical Engineering Department, VIT, Lucknow. I wish this session fruitful for us. I welcome all of you again. Thank you. I would like to invite Dr. Avdesh sir.
Okay. Now, is it over to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, thank you very much, Ms. Archana Pal, and my thank you also to Dr. Anurag Dwivedi, Head of the Department, Electrical Engineering, Bansal Institute of Engineering and Technology, Lucknow. And I welcome you all who are connected online. And probably I think this is the fourth day of this faculty development program on artificial intelligence and being organized by the Electrical Engineering Department, Bansal Institute of Engineering and Technology, Lucknow. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to this director of the institute, Dr. S.K. Agrawal ji, and also my thanks to Dr. Anurag for inviting me for such a program, such a nice program. I've seen from past 3 days, there are many good speakers through which you might have been benefited very much. So I'll also in this track, I'll also try to give something valuable to you. I'll try to justify with my talk. So to begin with, let me first share my slide. And I'll also request one thing. If in between anything is my voice level or the PPT is not visible or anything goes wrong, so you can just inform me in between. All right. Because I'll not be able to see the screen. See you. I hope my PPT is visible now.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll be talking on artificial intelligence, human perception, and fuzzy control systems. And we'll try to be very much in line with this, the theme of this faculty development program on artificial intelligence. The few points are outline of my presentation will go something like this. First, we'll be talking over this artificial intelligence little bit, and we'll try to correlate with what we see in the natural intelligence. Then we'll be very briefly discussing what is human perception, through which this fuzzy logic technique has been coined. So this fuzzy logic technique, which is again a component of the artificial intelligence technique, has been replicated or has been coined just observing the intelligence, whatever that is associated with the human perception. Right. Then this fuzzy logic, how it is different from the crisp logic, that what we have seen in our earlier studies, starting from, say, intermediate, that is all is your Boolean logic or the classical set theory, we call this as the classical set theory. So a little with the correlation of strict correlation with the CRISP or the Boolean or the classical set theory, will be coming to this, what is the basic concepts of this fuzzy logic. Now the various concepts, the components of the fuzzy logic, we'll discuss one by one. So to get you more familiar with the terminology and the various concepts. Then finally, we'll be switching over to the what we call as the classical control and how this fuzzy logic control has been derived from or has been associated with this control technology. We'll also include in our discussion some of the typical examples, and finally we'll be citing some applications, of course some potential application of this fuzzy logic technology, and we'll be concluding our talk with a little just discussion on the MATLAB fuzzy logic toolbox. The very first thing that comes to our mind is what is artificial intelligence and how it is different from the natural intelligence, I'd say intelligence. When we deeply observe this current technology and the artificial intelligence, so we can simply define this artificial intelligence is nothing but an area of the computer science. And of course, this computer science has not been the fundamental branch. This has been derived from the electronics, or so-called the mother branch as the electrical engineering, to which I belongs to. So formally, we call this artificial intelligence an area of computer science, which is concerned with the designing intelligent computer systems. So not only the computer system, it could be any machines, intelligent systems would be more accurate to call this as intelligent systems. So the systems that exhibit the characteristic we associate with intelligence in human behavior is something we call as the artificial intelligence. We will try to capture the intelligence associated with the human behavior, or the, let's say, or even in the nature, whatever the processes and these happenings that we observe, there could be some intelligence associated with that process or the, right? So we just try to replicate that intelligence incorporated in that particular process, and which is nothing but it is just given by our omnipotent God. And anyhow, we try to just incorporate into some sort of machines or try to give to some algorithms or some set of programs so that it can also perform in the same manner as an artificial intelligence, as the natural intelligent entity is performing. So here, if we want to define this natural intelligence as simply intelligence, so what we can say about the intelligence, in fact, as I perceive, as I think, the absolute definition of this intelligence is not there, but there are some attributes through which we can coin this natural intelligence. We can understand what is in fact the natural intelligence. So the attributes are listed here in this slide. The first very important is the sensing, receiving, input capability of the information. Any system which we are going to call as an intelligent system, it must possess a capability of taking inputs. See, our computers have a provision to take inputs. See, the human being, everyone having 5 sensory organs to take this input. Unless and until we are not able to receive, the rest of thing will go worse. Right. The second most important thing is the learning and training capability of. So again, the intelligent systems or intelligent person should be able to learn to what in what the environment they are put, right? So right from our birth, and we can say at every moment of our time, not only in the schools, colleges, or the institutes, but the environment which we are facing day to day, where we are residing, whatever we are encountering. So from that, we are learning, we are getting a training sort of thing. Whatever the input, whatever the training we have perceived, so the informations received is going to be processed in some way so that some useful or some required output could be there. Right. So this we call as the third important attribute of the natural intelligence as analyzing, thinking, and processing. Right. So whenever a situation, a problem comes to us, what we do is we try to find out some ways to tackle that problem, right? So that way, the technique or the process that we apply to solve that problem is nothing but the analysis, right? So that we mean by analysis. The second most, the fourth one we can think of is the memory storage or remembering, right? There is one component known as neural network, which is also known as an intelligent technique, which has been replicated from the functions of human brain. The human brain has the thousands of neurons, and these neurons performs input, output, and several other functions, but their interconnections, the strength of the interconnection of those neurons provides the strength to the memory, right? The greater the interconnection is there, the greater is our memory capability. In the computer system, see, we have some chips, storage chips. So you might have seen a very famous movie, Ghazni, where this Amir Khan had a short-term memory or some sort of memory loss. So can you think of that person, that fellow was intelligent? Of course not. Why? Because if other attributes are there, and if you are not able to retain that informations, so how will be ultimately processing and giving the output? So this becomes, again, a very, very important thing. So all the computer systems are provided with some sort of memory. We are provided with some memory, that this interconnection of neurons gives us the strength to the memory, right? So this, again, becomes the very important attribute to the intelligence. Now, if I just ask any of you, or even you may ask anyone, what is intelligence? Most of the people answer that this is nothing but the decision-making capability is intelligence. And of course, this is somewhat true, because this becomes the most important. Whatever you do, whatever the other attributes are doing, they are leading towards this particular attribute, decision-making capability. So we have to receive the input, we have to get some training based on that, we'll be analyzing, and based on our remembrance, for a particular set of data, we are going to take some decisions, we are going to give some output, right? So this output will depend solely on the kind of the inputs we had, the kind of the algorithm or we had a training, the kind of processing system are involved or the analysis tools are there. And of course, if there are some stored energy or initial condition sort of thing, so they might require some sort of memory. So the decision-making capability is the most prominent attribute to the natural intelligence, and mainly this is associated with the intelligence by most of the people. Now, the last one, which I think is again a very important, is generalizing or predicting. Suppose we had got some training or some kind of learning is done. So there could be some set of patterns, some set of data for which the network or for which a person or any intelligent person or any entity which we are going to call as the intelligent thing has been trained. Now, one more capability could be there if that particular entity is given some new data, some new input for which it has not been trained so far, and still it is going to give you some output based on the kind of the training which it had for the previous situations. So that we call is our system is able to predict, the system is able to generalize the past training to kind of giving you the new outputs. So that is again very, very important. So if these attributes are possessed by any of the human being or even any entity living being, or anyhow, if we are trying to give these attributes to some machine, maybe a computer system, so we call that human being or a machine or a system as an intelligent system. And since this natural intelligence is being replicated and being provided with some artificial means to the systems, so that is why it is known as artificial intelligence. Is that okay? My voice level and everything is okay?
Yes.
So to be little interactive, can anyone just answer what is the most intelligent entity on this earth?
Human beings.
Anyone else? We may include the animals as well. Animals. See, if you Google it or search, lots of research engines are available. So chimpanzees are thought to be the most intelligent. The second one is the monkey, and the third one is the elephant. They have got means the kind of this percentage of the attributes will be more towards them, and then comes to the human being, right? So before we'll enter into the fuzzy logic, let me just discuss a few more important things related to this. So there's hard computing and soft computing. Whatever the conventional computing that we have seen is all comes under this hard computing. And probably the soft computing term was introduced by Lotfi Ezade in 1965. And in fact, the fuzzy logic was introduced in 1965, and it was first used by steam engine control by Bamdani in the steam engine control, and probably in 1990. And nowadays, this is very, very popular. This soft computing, in fact, differs in the sense that it is able to handle the imprecision, uncertainty, and partial truth. So these are the very important difference between hard computing and soft computing. In hard computing, whatever the data and things we have, this is very, very clear, precise. There is no uncertainty. The data will be either true or false, and nothing in between. But there are situations where we are supposed to handle this imprecision, or there are kind of uncertainty involved, or the things are not clearly can be stated in a true or false manner, but they could be a partially truth or partially false, like that. So in those situations, this soft computing techniques, so there are various components to it. Artificial neural network, in soft computing, other evolutionary techniques are there. So here we have chosen for the discussion as one as the fuzzy logic. This fuzzy logic technique has been coined through the human perception. So let me just briefly discuss about human perception. What we just think about this perception. Right, perception this refers to the set of processes we use to make sense of different stimuli we are presented with. It is, in fact, the organization, identification, and interpretation of sensory information in order to represent and understand the presented information. Right? So, whatever we are presented with, there we are provided with 5 sensory organs. I believe all of you are familiar with. So through these, we take the inputs, and with those inputs are the signals, are the informations, right? The process sort of signals becomes the informations. So with these informations, there are some actions to be further taken, and that is again decided by some kind of processing that happens in our brain. Now, whatever this we perceive by heart, whatever we see, there are 3 things, 3 components we can say. There is conception, perception, and realization. So whatever we observe, so for that, we have a concept of that, we have a notion of that. And if that notion is fully understood, it is fully grasped, and you are now agreed on that, so we may call it that that notion is perceived. And if you perceive that notion to the extent that you are not going to believe except that, so that becomes a realization. Right? This is true for the what you can in the spirituality also. So whatever the concepts of the religion also, whatever the concepts you have, if you just perceive by heart and you perceive it to the extent that nobody can differ your belief, then you sort of thing happens that you realize the thing, right? So that is all. So that perception, that our human perception involves a kind of intelligence. And that particular associated intelligence, we are trying to model it, we are trying to replicate it, and replicate to it to coin a technology known as fuzzy logic technology, fuzzy logic systems. So then the couple of slides will just written some points, will give you the information why we need this fuzzy logic. So this is based on the intuition and judgment. And often, if you'll go through the various research, so it has been applied, even though the mathematical model is present, the people have applied this fuzzy logic control and all for the sake of publishing paper or for doing whatever. And of course, the research is nothing but this always experimentation process. So still, there is no requirement of the mathematical. So people keep on applying this fuzzy logic, even though the mathematical models are available to get something more out of that. So this is formally useful when there is no mathematical model available. This provides a smooth transition between members and non-members. So in more detail, we'll see in the future slides. It's relatively simple, fast, and adaptive, less sensitive to the system fluctuations, and it can implement design objectives which are difficult to express mathematically. And this is done through representing it in linguistic or some descriptive roles that we'll see in the next slides. Some more points are there. Conceptually very easy to understand. It's very flexible as well. And as I told already, it is tolerant to the imprecise data. This handles the vagueness, ambiguity, or the uncertainty. This can handle the partial truth. This can model nonlinear functions of arbitrary complexity, and it can be built on the top of the experience of experts. So here, we'll proceed with the future slides. You'll see that. So this could be thought as the limitation as well, that the designer of this fuzzy controls and the fuzzy logic system designer should be the expert of, because most of the time we are using the perceptions. So this training, maybe the training may be done through some other intelligent techniques as well. Sometimes it is neural network, but the designer has to be expert over that. So this is based on the natural language, so that makes it very simple and powerful. This fuzzy logic can be blended with conventional control techniques. So we'll be seeing this at the last of our talk. So having understood the why we need this fuzzy logic, now let us start with what is fuzzy logic. So we are familiar with the crisp logic that we call as the classical set theory. This fuzzy logic has been derived from the fuzzy logic set theory, fuzzy set theory. So what is in the characteristic of this classical set theory? I believe again, everyone is familiar of all those things. There is a set A we define as the collection of objects having same sort of characteristics in the universe of discourse. In classical set, generally we call as the universal set. Universal set to which all the sets are the subsets, or all the sets are contained in the universal set. And here in the fuzzy terminology, we say this as universe of discourse, where all these fuzzy sets will belong. This fuzzy set is, in fact, will contain the elements. The element will not only be belonging to the set, but they will be belonging to the particular set with some varying degree of membership. So we have a notion called membership function. So the elements which are belonging to the fuzzy sets have a membership function or membership value. Then when the values are discrete, we call it the membership value. Sometimes it may be represented by some functions. So in general, we call it the membership functions. So some membership function will be associated with this elements of the fuzzy set, and this will vary from 0 to 1. So let's say what we have in the classical set. Let us have a set A having the element as x, and the x are such that it is the number greater than 10. So all the numbers which are greater than 10 are included in this classical set A, and they are definitely in A, they belongs to A. So we'll assign those elements as value 1, or we call this as they are belonging to the set A with 100% membership value. Now the elements which are less than 10, say 5, 6, 7, and etc., they are not belonging to this classical set A. So I can assign this these elements a membership value as 0. So in this classical set, what we see is where it's a very clear logic. Either the elements belongs to set A or do not belong at all. So the membership value will be either 1 or 0. But, and this is given by the graph here, see, if we have the element x and the mu A of x is the membership value. So in classical set, we'll have the membership value is either 0 or 1. So this is Boolean logic also. So the numbers which are less than 10 are having zero value, zero membership function value, and greater than 10 are having 1. But see the situation where we have suppose represent the height of some men's height, and let's say we are considering the height from, let's say, 140 to 220 centimeters and all. So we have to have categorized this height. So let's say if the persons are less than 160 centimeter, their height is less than 160 centimeters. So we'll call those persons as of short height, but from 160 to 190 centimeter, let me assume that to be of medium height, right? Sorry, let me assume from 170 to 180 as from medium height, and let me assume the height beyond 190 centimeters as tall height, and of course it could not be more than 220 and all. So let me limit here. Now you can see in this picture as a very much overlapping between this short and the medium and tall. So there is no crisp boundary, there is no clear-cut boundary. Let's say if you decide as 165 centimeter as the margin, as the boundary, below which you will consider as the short height, and above which you will consider as the medium height. So this will not be good at all. Because just think of a person who is just 164 centimeter and a person who is just 166 centimeter. So having a clear boundary, having a clear distinction, having a particular threshold value will not be wise at all. So what we do is we have a overlapping sort of thing. So we can categorize up to 170 maybe short, but from short to medium or from to medium to tall, there is a gradual change, or the boundary is a thicker one, right? So the person will be short who are clearly in this region, less than say 160, and who are above 190 will be tall, but in between that will be medium. But let's say if a person is of 165 centimeter, so he can be thought of as short and medium as well. So what we can do is we can provide some membership value. So he is short up to this percentage, he is medium up to this percentage, like that. So there is a notion called membership function. So that will be assigned to this phenomena to get more clear picture of that. So fuzzy membership functions can be categorized as the element X into a set A, and we can describe through a membership function mu of AX. Right? So this mu of X will not only have the value 0 and 1, so 0 for those which are not belonging to the fuzzy set, but 1 for those who are completely belonging. But it will be in between that if there are elements which are partially belonging. So let's say mu tall of 200. So go to the previous slide. So see here, for 200 centimeter, this entirely lies in the tall region. So you can assign this as 200 as membership value 1. Similarly, for 160 centimeter, this 160 do not belong to this tall region. So you can assign 160 for the tall fuzzy set as membership value as 0. So like that, you can express this situation in a more better way, and that is the power of this fuzzy logic. So in the fuzzy logic, you have the elements and you have the membership function associated with those elements, and they could be varying from 0 to 1. So representing the degree of the belongingness to the set or the degree of truthfulness of that particular phenomena. So in case of the discrete value, we can represent this tall set something like that. So here, this 160 centimeter is maybe one element of that fuzzy set, fuzzy tall set. And this 0 is in the numerator, it is given as the membership value. So this is generally represented by mu of a x1 by x1 plus mu a of x2 by x2 and plus so on. You can put a comma also to separate these elements. So in case of discrete is that was the representation, but there could be a situation where this membership value you need to represent as functions. So here is an example for that. The set of set B, fuzzy set B, the numbers approaching 2 can be represented by a membership function something like this. Is a to the raised to the power minus of modulus of x minus 2 presented here. Now, so coming to the one very misconception about some this fuzziness is with the probability is this fuzzy is entirely different from the probability. In the probability, what we see is the chances of happening of an occurrence. Right? So if the number of trials, there is particular event. So if the probability is, let's say, 0.2 or something, anything, so it just represents there are chances of occurring that particular event with that probability, right? But the fuzziness is entirely different to this. So this represents the belongingness to that particular set. So an element is contained in a particular set and how much it is contained. So to just understand this particular thing, we can take one example. Let's say we have a situation where there is a bottle C, which is labeled as mu C is 0.95, and the another bottle A is labeled as with some probability function as 0.95. So how do we interpret this? How we are going to interpret this? The membership of 0.95 means that the contents of C are fairly similar to perfectly drinkable water. We have a set of all drinkable liquids. So this is 0.95 is this perfectly drinkable water. But it will not contain some poison and something. But the probability A means that over long run of experiment, the context of A are expected to be drinkable in about 95% of the trials. So in other words, you may also say that it may contain poison also. Like the 95% chances are there, it will be safe, but there are 5% chances that it will not be safe to drink. So let's say if that, within that probability, if that event occurs. So what will happen if you are going to consume that water? So it is poisonous, so this will become very dangerous for you. So right, so this is how we can think of the fuzziness as different from the probability. This fuzzy we have seen in the earlier slide as the height we have categorized in short height, medium, and this tall height. So these are what? These are nothing but these are the variables. These are the we call as the linguistic variables. Right. So a linguistic variable associate words or sentences with a measure of belief functions, also called membership function. The set of values that it can take called term set, and each value in the set is a fuzzy variable, right? Over a base variable, of course, and the base variable defines the universal base course to which all the sets belongs to. So a linguistic variable was quintuple of 5 things. In fact, x, t, x, u, z, m, right? So x is the name of the variable. T of x is the term set. U is the universe of discourse. Z is the grammar to generate that name. And M is the set of semantic rules associated with each x with its meaning. So this is a terminology. So one by one, we'll be looking in the few slides, we'll be looking with some terminology and some concept, the fuzzy logic. This linguistic variable, again, you can think of something like this. Let's say an example of the speed. Let x be the variable and the level is speed. So we can term something like this. This is the positive low, negative high, right? So this is negative high, then negative low, then this is 0, then positive low or positive high. And we can represent, there are various membership functions. So in general, we often utilize this triangular sort of membership functions. So why is so? As again, there is a logic behind it. We'll discuss it later on. So let me represent this with the triangular membership function. And this, you can see here, there is a, again, overlapping between each of the category so that you can represent it better. Again, there is a representation for you to understand. This is membership function as very short, short, medium, tall, and very tall for the height. So for very short, you can define a membership as mu of Vs and all. So you can just categorize again. For categorizing all those, of course, you'll be using your perceptions. So this see here, all the intelligence comes through the perception and all. So this is 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, whatever you think that is that will come under the very short or whatever this range will be covered in this medium. So that is over to the expert. This is again a representation of membership function. See here, for the mu, I have written as 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. So see in the arrow marked here, the first arrow for the short. So that entirely lies in the short region. So that is why the membership function for this, in the previous slide, for very short, it will be 0. For mu of s, it will, since it is entirely lying in this region, so it will be 1, and the rest will be 0 again, 0, 0, 1. Similarly, for the medium tall, let us see if I have marked something beyond 6. So see here, see in the previous slide, so it will come under both medium and tall, right? And it is exactly in between. So we can just assign membership value for 0.5 and 0.5 for mu m and mu t, right? And the rest will be 0. Some features associated with membership function. So if we have a membership function, something like this, as represented in this graph. So mu of A, for the fuzzy set A, the membership function of A with the element x is equal to 1. We define as the core. So the core means all those which has the membership value as 1, where the support, they have the positive membership value. So in the entire region, they are either positive or 0. So that will be defined as the support. And then the boundary we can define as the membership values lying from 0 to 1, and not equal to 1. So clearly you can see in the picture, so there are boundary, in between there is a core, and total is, total range is support, and the membership value where the is 1 is your core. So these are the terminology related to the membership function. Another component to this fuzzy system is fuzzifications. So I have seen the linguistic variables. So is everything fine, my voice level and PPT?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So another terminology related to this is fuzzification. So in fuzzification, what we do is we have a crisp input and we try to convert into fuzzy variables. Because for the fuzzy system, the input will be always the linguistic variable. So we need to convert into this fuzzy variable. So from the crisp data set, so we'll have, and there are various methods to it, of course. So, and one prominent method is intuition itself. So we'll use our intuition, our perceptions to convert those crisp input sets into some sort of fuzzy variables to give it to the fuzzy systems. So the definition of membership function must reflect the designer's knowledge. This provides a smooth transition between membership and non-members of the fuzzy set, and that is why we check overlapping in all the category. Typical shapes of the membership functions, though the various shapes are available, Gaussian, trapezoidal, and triangular are the typical shape. And in most of the time, you will be using, the researcher have used this triangular. So in one of the research paper, I was just going through, I've seen in case of the triangular members, the investigator, the author has applied so many shapes of this membership function. And finally, he concluded that being with the triangular one will give the better results. And again, how many this number of membership function has to be taken? Again, there is research over that. And in that paper also, they have taken the 3 membership function, then 5, then 7, and then further. So there is another thing which is called the rule-based number of rules. So if you are going to increase the number of functions, so of course you will be going to increasing the number of rules as well. So if you are with the less number of rules, you will be comfortable. But if you are with large number of rules, of course, those rules may be conflicting sort of in nature. And with that conflict, your results may not be better. And you have to take more and more care while designing this fuzzy logic system. So that is why we come to an optimal number of membership function. So in that paper, it was, I forgot what was that paper. If I'll see, I can share that paper at the end of this with the organizer. Those who are interested, they may refer that. That's a very wonderful paper. So in that, the optimal number of this membership functions was taken with the 7. So the 7 will lead to the large number of this 49 rules, right? So what we want to do is, actually, we want to make our problem as simple as possible, number one thing. And number two is, we want to be more accurate. For being more accurate, we want more and more rules. So for the exhaustive rule set, what will happen, this algorithm may take larger time, or this may stuck somewhere and the result could not be better sometimes. So there should be an optimal choice for that, and the optimal is one. Often in the research, you will find that the people are doing this for 3 and 5. This is crossing the set A1 and set A2. Set, it is crossing, it is intersecting the membership function of A2 at point 2 and set of A1 at point 5. So this way we can assign the membership value of that element X belonging to set A1 as 0.5. Similarly, the membership value of X1 2 belonging to A2 as 0.2. Similarly, the case for the set B also. See here. So suppose we assume you want to evaluate the health of a person based on his height and weight. So very quickly, I'll show you this example. The input variables, let's say, are the crisp numbers of person's height and weight. So how it is going to fuzzified, see in the next slide. This, we have decided some membership function for the height as very short, medium, tall, and very tall, something like this. And fuzzification of weight also in some forms like this, very slim, medium, heavy, and very heavy. So if the weight will be within this range, so we'll take this person as a slim or medium or heavy, something like this. So this picture, I believe you can just, this is very much explanatory. Then there are various methods to it. Of course, I'm not going into detail of it. So the various method, one I told earlier also, that the method of intuition, there is method of inference, rank ordering, angular fuzzy sets, neural networks are there. Sometimes these genetic algorithms are also applied to fuzzify this risk values. Inductive reasoning is also one of them. So these are some, you may refer to the literature. So having understood the first component at the fuzzifications, now we have the fuzzy linguistic variable ready to input to the fuzzy systems. And in between that, there is a process. That process will, of course, will have some sort of transfer function, or you may call as the, here it is a rule-based system or knowledge-based system. Rule-based, we'll discuss after this defuzzification. And defuzzification is the, in fact, needed. If you get the output of this fuzzy system as the linguistic variable, but many of times you need to take the crisp value as a command to the controller. So you need to again convert these fuzzy variables into crisp variable to get into the actual control. So, and this is somewhat similar to what you have seen in this digital processing system. So before this digital controls, what you do is you convert this into analog quantity, output measured analog quantity into some digital form, and then you put it to for the processing. And after getting the output in digital form, again you reconvert this digital output into analog by D to A converter. So at the end you are putting this A to D and D to A converter. So similar is the case here. You are putting this fuzzifier and defuzzifier at the end of the fuzzy systems, at the two terminals of the fuzzy systems. And this defuzzification, you can again just think of this mapping process from a space of fuzzy control actions defined over an output universe are disposed into a space of crisp or non-fuzzy control actions. So again, there are various methods for the defuzzification. This is maximum membership principle, centroid method, weighted average method, max min membership function, center of sums, center of largest area, first of maxima, last of maxima. These are the methods. If you are interested, you can again refer just to get to you a glimpse of this one of the method. As I've taken one snap as weighted average method. So in weighted average, what we do is see here, this weighted average has been taken for this membership function using as the weights of E as the events. So this was the height here. And now see here, we have got some final decision value as 70, right? So this is somewhat, this is the conversion from this fuzzy, this linguistic variables and the membership value to a crisp value. So just 30 seconds, I'll take in pause. So, I'm sorry. Is everything okay? Just anybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is one of the method for this defuzzification. From this fuzzy and all, we have got some crisp value as 70 here. So these are nothing but all the mechanical methods. If we'll see, we can easily understand those methods. Now, why defuzzifications is needed? See, suppose if the speed of a motor has to be varied, we cannot instruct to raise the it in linguistic terms, say raise it slightly or raise it high using this linguistic variable. So what we do is we try to convert into this crisp value, the crisp equivalent value of that. So it should be something like raising by 200 RPM or let's say some other value. So this is why this defuzzification is needed. Now, coming to the heart of this fuzzy system, as we call as this fuzzy rules, right? And I have repeated many of the times this fuzzy is nothing but this is replicated through our human perceptions. And in the human perception, the logic is something is if X is A, then Y is B. Like the reasoning in our mind is always go something like this. If this is the situation, then this action has to be taken, something like this, else something like some other action has to be taken, something like this. So these fuzzy rules consist of nothing but the rules sort of if and then, and maybe if then else sort of rules are there, right? So you can just think of a situation where suppose in winters, in the starting, let's say in the October or November, what we do, we feel little cold, and then as December comes, we feel a little bit more cold, and then at the fag end of this December or the starting of the January, this peak cold, right? So these sort of this coldness, these inputs, we are going to take through this our sensory organs, and then we are not going to measure it at all through the some crisp value or putting in some thermometer or some sort of temperature measuring instrument. Just we are having the senses of those coldness, and what we do based on that, if there is a little cold, what we do, we wear some warm clothes, say half sweater and all. If it is more cold, what we do, we try to wear some more clothes, some jackets and all. And let's say if it is peak, it is extremely cold, then what is our action? Again, we are not going to measure, just we measure in terms of it is little cold, or it is more cold, or it is extremely cold. So sort of this linguistic variables are used to measure those coldness. And then what is the action? If this is little cold, then we are going to wear less clothes. If it is little more cold, we are going to wear some more clothes, more warm clothes. And then if it is extremely cold, so we are going to take extreme protection regarding that, right? So this is kind of the rules are there that the human, this we perform. Hello? I'm sorry. So this is sort of these rules are there associated with human perceptions, and that is exactly being replicated here. So we have a system, we call this fuzzy rule-based system, where there are number of fuzzy rules are there. So depending on this, the category of the situation, we'll take the logic something like if X is A, then Y is B. So in reasoning, we call this, just give me 1 minute, there is an urgent call.
No problem, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, हाँ ma'am. जी जी हाँ मैं दे दूंगा. अभी मैं एक दूसरे लेक्चर में हूँ, तो मैं आधे पौन घंटे में फ्री होता हूँ. तो ऑलरेडी हमारे स्टूडेंट ने सब बना रखा है, मैं शेयर कर दूंगा आपको, ठीक है. और मैं हमारे यहाँ से एक PRO हैं अभिजीत मिश्रा, उन्हीं के थ्रू न्यूज़पेपर मीडिया में जाता है, तो उनको मैं शेयर कर दूंगा, वो भेज देंगे. 4 बजे के आसपास भेजते हैं वो, 4 से. अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, ठीक है ठीक 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 है मैडम, मैं आपको शेयर कर दूंगा आपको. ओके, एनीवे थैंक यू मैम, बहुत अच्छा रहा आपका. हाँ, थोड़ा सा ऐसे इशू आया ग्लिचेस, बट एनीवे इट वाज वेरी नाइस. ठीक है, मैं फिर बात करता हूँ. आई एम इन बिटवीन सम लेक्चर. Extremely sorry, there was an urgent call. So we were on this fuzzy rule base. So we were discussing that the kind of if X is A, then Y is B sort of rules we'll have. And depending on the situation, the number of rules are decided. So in this reasoning, what we call as this antecedent and the consequent. If if the antecedent is something like this, then what will be the consequent out of that? Right. So in this decision-making process, this based on rules with sentences, conjunctives as, and, or, these are the used. And this, each rule corresponds to a fuzzy relations. So this relation is again we can just think of it's a function of functions as we have seen in the classical set. So here again, the same kind of notion we have extended to this fuzzy set theory. So we have a fuzzy relations and fuzzy mapping. So again, I'm not going into detail of that. So through fuzzy relations, we are trying to achieve some output. So for example, let's say we can say if distance x is to the second car is small, or distance y to the obstacle is close, and the speed v is high, then perform large corrections to the steering angle theta, also make medium reduction in the speed v. So this particular rule is giving you some information how these rules are being framed. So there could be three here. Here you can see there are three antecedents, and they are giving you two consequences are the two outputs. So these are again dependent on the problem. So this slide is again for your just to see. If height is tall, then weight is heavy. So that we were talking about for that example that we have seen. So here the fuzzy classes could be for height and weight. And there you need to set some range. So the range height could be from 140 to 120, and the weight could be from 50 to, let's say, 250, something like that. The formation of fuzzy rules, again, this is done through three ways. One is your assignment statements. Second one is your conditional statements. And the third one is your unconditional statements. These we can see through this slide. In assignment statements, the examples are cited here, something like this: the Paul is not tall and not very short, something like that. Y is some small. You see here in the unconditional sort of statements, we just go to sum or stop, divide by something, this unconditional statement. And here in the conditional statements, if y is very cool, then stop, something like so. This depends on some conditions. Then further, the decomposition of these rules. A compound rule is a collection of several simple rules combined together. So there could be multiple consecutive antecedents or multiple disjunctive antecedents, and there could be conditional statements also using else or unless. So again, this slide will just give you how these multiple conjunctive antecedents are there. So suppose we have a number of antecedents, and they are denoted by fuzzy sets A1, A2, A3, right? So if X is A1, A2, A3, so here I am using as and, then the Y is some fuzzy variable as VM. Then what we can do is we can combine this all AIs as AM into AM, and this AM will be A1 intersection A2 intersection A3 and so on. So this AND logic is being through the intersection operation of the set theory. This intersection operation is again in this. They are you can just think of these are all equivalent. This AND logic is equivalent to the intersection in this your set theory, right? So again, in the reasoning, we denote something like this AND logic. So this all we can combine into some AM, and we can simply say that if X is AM, then Y is VM, right? So this AM and VM are the input and output fuzzy linguistic variables related to some the fuzzy sets, right? Similarly, there could be multiple disjunctive. Disjunctive means these events are separated through OR logic. So if X is A1 or X is A2 or something, X is AN and so on, then Y is VM. So this again we can combine this all AIs into AM, checking some union operation, A1 union A2, union A3, and so on, and then finally. So this is your multiple disjunctive statement. And for the conditional statement, again, this nothing but if A1, there are multiple representation, you can just see it's written on the slide. So in the reading the last one, if A1, then B1, or if not A1 and if A2, then B2, something like that. Now, so all these fuzzy rules are now this way aggregated to obtain the overall output or the consequence from the individual the consequence. So there could be again several outputs and they could be superimposed to get some final output. So this is again similar to that, is showing this aggregation of fuzzy rules. This one example. So let me have three rules. Rule 1, 2, 3 as if height is short, then weight is light. The second rule as if the height is medium, then the weight is medium. And if the height is tall, then weight is heavy. So suppose I take these three fuzzy rules. So our problem is given as the membership function for short, medium, tall, height, light, medium, and heavy weight, the three fuzzy rules, and the fact that, let's say, the height of John is this. John height is 6 feet and 1 inch. So estimate John's weight. So based on this height information, you have to estimate this John's weight. So we can go through this. So let me again assume. So the membership function, again, you have to assume, and the overlapping and all, you have to just take this. Suppose John is short with the degree of membership function as 0.3, medium height with 0.6, and tall with 0.2. So this each rule produces a fuzzy set as the output by truncating the consequent membership function at the value of the antecedent membership function. See how? For the rule 1, see here, this mu has been denoted, mu membership function. And here, the weight on the x-axis. And see with this darker white line is for the weight. So if, go to the previous, if the height is short, then the weight is light. So you can just see here, if the height is short, so the weight has to be, and this is what that anybody can think of. If the height is short, so weight has to be low. So this way we can, this is what the perceptions, the outcome of the perception is. So we are designing the rules something like this. And similarly, you can see in the picture for the second rule, and the height is medium, the weight is also medium. So we are in between. And there is again a strong degree of overlapping. And for the rule 3 also the same. So in this way, you see here, we'll take operation. And what is the operation? So all the three rules has to be simultaneously taken. They have to be true. So for that, so we'll have the intersection operation. And if we'll go for the intersection operation in the classical set, so what we do in the classical set, we take the common of the two sets. In the intersection means if the statement 1 is to be true and the statement 2 has also to be true, then the overall event will be true when both the statements are true. So in classical set, if there is set A and set B having some elements, So the A intersection element will have some element which are common to both A and B. So similarly, in the fuzzy sets, what we do have, if there are fuzzy set A and fuzzy set B, so there are elements in the fuzzy set A with associated with some membership function value, and there are of course some elements in B associated with some membership value. So we take, and of course those elements will be common. So we'll take all the elements in the intersection of this fuzzy set, but with the membership function which are the maximum of the two, right? So this intersection, sorry, so in the union it is the maximum, but for the intersection we take as the minimum of the two, the minimum membership function for a particular element as the membership function for the intersection of the two fuzzy sets. So if we'll go through this graphically, so this way we can have this with the darker white line, and again, so if we have this fuzzy membership value as the output, or the linguistic variable as the output, now we can defuzzify it, and already we have discussed, we will defuzzify it, we'll get the weight as ATKC. Right. So coming to the again the fuzzy inference system, already we have discussed a little. This all the fuzzy rules are nothing but just a part of this fuzzy inference system, and they contain these if-then logic rules, and they are in fact the system which are going to give you the fuzzy output. So all the fuzzy rules are contained in this, and we call this as FIS, fuzzy inference system. The primary functions of this FIS being the decision making through this if and then rules. And this FIS for the fuzzy design, fuzzy control design, in fact, we are working with this FIS. And at the end, we'll see how this FIS editor is there in this MATLAB, this fuzzy logic toolbox, and how this we can set the values, how we can design the rules through this FIS system. This is the block diagram, the representation of this fuzzy inference system. This dotted lines in between, this is your, you can think of this whole the FIS system. The input being crisp given to the fuzzification block, whose function is to fuzzify it, and it will be given to the decision-making unit block, and then the output, fuzzy output, will be given to the defuzzifier block, which will again convert into the crisp value, and this all will be based on some rule base and database, of course, and which we used to call as the knowledge base. There are two types of this FIS system. One is your Mamdani and the other one is Sujano. This Mamdani fuzzy FIS, these input variables are these linguistic variables. We need to determine the membership values first, and then we evaluate the rules based on the membership value, then aggregate the rule output, unify all the membership value for the output from all the rules, and then finally defuzzify the output. And there are various methods here, one such as written as center of gravity, and this is sometimes called the approx by summation. This is very simple method, And this is just similar to what we have seen in the mechanics, how to find out this formula for the center of gravity and all. In Suzhner kind of FIS, again, there are mainly the same steps. The main difference between Mamdani and Suzhner method is that Suzhner output membership functions are either linear or constant, right? So they differ in their output variables. So with this notion of this, what we call as the fuzzy logic, now we can move to the fuzzy control system. So here is a control system. What we mean by the control system is something to achieve the desired objective, right? So the process set of systems through which we obtain the desired output, we call it the control system. There could be the whole system put to achieve that objective. There could be a single dedicated device known as controller to achieve that objective. So this is all for the control system. And of course, we had seen there are broad two. One is open loop and the other is your closed loop. In open loop case, the output is mainly the accuracy of the output depends on the input calibrations, and there is no other tool to handle the desired output. But in feedback sort of thing, which is most popular, what we do is we try to measure the output obtained, and then this method output, we try to compare with some sort of a reference or checkpoint, and thus we obtain some error. And with this error, we try to give it to some device which we generally call as controller, and generate some control signal, and through which we try to manipulate some variables known as manipulate variable are the controlling variables, the variables by which we get to have control over the controlled variable are the output variables. So the output variables are the variables to which we want the desired reference with set point or the reference which you have set. But this we obtain through some controlling variable that we call as the manipulate variable. So we generate a command signal through the controller to manipulate that particular variable. Say in case of, suppose we have to maintain the room temperature. So the temperature is the controlled variable or the output variable. We want to control the temperature of the room, but we'll control this temperature through the heat taken or heat provided or extracted from the system. So our heat becomes the manipulate variable or the controlling variable. So we'll provide some arrangement, sort of some heater or cooler, and the controller will produce some sort of signal which will make the heater on or off, maybe some cooler sort of thing on or off. And this way we are manipulating this heat variable to achieve a set point, let's say 25 degrees centigrade as the reference set point as a control variable. So this is something about this control. Now the same classical philosophy we are going to incorporate in this fuzzy, where we don't have this crisp value. Now we have the linguistic variable sort of. So this fuzzy logic controller, there could be some the input will be linguistic variables, and the output can also be some linguistic variables, right? So this traditional control method requires accurate, often complex system of equation, where the fuzzy logic controller do not need the mathematical model at all. So this go by a human perception. The fuzzy logic proponents claim fuzzy systems are much closer to human control process. Interestingly, biological control systems do not rely on complex mathematical models. There is one important point here. the fuzzy control. Our most important application of this fuzzy control theory, fuzzy set theory, in fact. This expert knowledge is used instead of a differential equation to describe a system. Means the designer of this fuzzy logic controller must be expert. They must be uh, familiar with the kind of designing this fuzzy rule. Suppose we are designing, let's say, uh, a fuzzy controller for the speed control of the motor. So the designer must be familiar with, if let's say the speed is high, so what the range of the voltage or the other variable is required to make that speed high. Similarly, for if the desired speed is low, so what is the equivalent voltage range of the voltage, or let's say if some flux or some other variable is involved, so what is that range of. So that particular expertise, that particular knowledge should be there with the expert who is going to design this fuzzy logic controller. The most powerful thing is we are going to use this natural way of natural language as a linguistic variables. Although application of this fuzzy logic to industrial problem has often produced results superior to classical control, the design procedures are limited by the heuristic rules of the systems. This is very, very important. And see, there is there are situations where this application of this fuzzy logic control will be justified, though the researchers are using at so many places. Sometimes it is required and sometimes it may not be required. Still they are using for the sake of research. But there are situations where this has to be applied. So one should be very, very, in fact, cautious about where to apply this fuzzy logic controller and right, where not to use this, right? So this fuzzy logic based approach for solving problems in control has been found in those systems generally which are very, very complex, and some of those which happens to be non-linear with some having some parameter uncertainty, right? So in fact, this technology is applicable to the situations where this for the imprecision sort of situation, or the vagueness, or the uncertainty is thing is there. So many of the researchers, they are using this fuzzy control in the robust control area. The robust control area is again an area where the people handle this uncertainty. Now, we can see here in this slide this fuzzy controller just replacing the place of the classical controller. See the picture right side. So there is a plant or process here. The output of this plant or process of the system is there. And this is again fed back through some feedback element. This feedback element again could be some measurement system. It could be some transducer or sensor sort of thing. So out of this measurement, what we can have is, in general, in fuzzy system, we have the error is one thing. And along with that error, we have in general as the change in error, the rate of that error, how this error is changing. So these two informations, we feed it to the controller, and the controller also has some reference set point, and then this generates control effort U, which is in fact the objective of this this control design. So we have to generate or we have to design this control effort Q so that the objective is achieved. This is the slide showing you the block diagram architecture of the fuzzy logic control system. You see here already we have discussed in our uh, just in previous slides, through previous slides. All the units have, I believe, has been discussed now. Here is the plant are processed, then the output sensor, and of course, the output of this measurement system, again, you need to convert into some suitable form. So there is an normalizing output scaling factor block is there. And then there is again for the input is again this is converted through this normalization input scaling vectors through some suitable form, and then they are given to the fuzzy fire block so that this linguistic variable will be uh, obtained, and then this will be again will be taking the help of fuzzy knowledge base, and this will be uh, um, given to this fuzzy inference system, and this will be taking help of the fuzzy rule base, of course, and then the output will be defuzzified through the defuzzifier block, and finally the crisp generated control effort is uh, given to this plan to take the uh, final control action, and this way the final objective of the control is achieved. So this is some description already we have just discussed. This fuzzy logic controller. So we have seen such as the control inputs, fuzzy sets, rules, control outputs, the fuzzy sets, fuzzy reasoning, and defuzzifications. These are the components that we have seen. And there is again some points written to it. The control input, I just told you that in general, what we take as the error and change in error. Right? So again, this slide don't need any explanations. So this is just picture of the classical uh, control. Now this fuzzy logic controller taking the place of that classical control. Now, as an example, we can take this, what is very, very popular as PID controller, proportional, integral, and derivative. And see in industries, even today, most of the industries, they take the controller as the PID controller. This is very, very excellent controller. And of course, these do not actually require the large effort or the thorough knowledge. Even this foreman and this can tune this PID controller. There is a very conventional empirical tuning method, that is your Jigner-Nichols method. That's some empirical formula sort of thing. So if we have to have some control objective, so what will be the parameter of this PID controller, KP, KI, and KD? So that with the perception of that that expert, we can just tune this PID controller. Say, what are in fact, the control objective? So, in general, we want to control the system with some, we want the system to behave in a fast manner. We want the fast response, one thing. We want there should not be any overshoot in the system. And we want that if the output settles to certain value, it should not have any deviation from the nominal value or the reference value, that what we call as the steady state error or offset. So there could be some other objectives as well, but you can think of this as the primary control objective as the fast response and overshoot less or no overshoot or less overshoot, and the second one is no steady state error or the minimum possible steady state error. So what we do for with this PID control, we can make the process fast by just increasing the value of Kp, this proportional gain. So this is nothing but this is an amplifier sort of thing. So we just increase the gain and we make the process fast. But there is a limit to it, how fast the system we want. So there is a limit to increase the gain of this Kp. And then if we keep on increasing this gain, what will happen? The system will become fast, but you may observe some sort of overshoot, right? This response may go beyond the nominal value and giving you the overshoot or some sort of oscillations in the system, giving the transients which are at all not desirable. So what we do is to overcome that transients are to suppress those overshoots. We increase this derivative gain. So with the KD, we try to control the overshoot, but this KP and KD, so in that sense, we can use this PD controller. So P and D in tandem can be used, but in a lot of situations, we can say after these transients die out, the final output do not settle at the the reference value. It deviates a little. So that offset is removed using this integral control. So integral control, integral action is very, very good in suppressing this offset. So what we overall we want with this PID control as KP, KI, and KID. So there should be a compromise within this parameter variable so that our objective in as a whole is achieved. So this was something about this PID control. This is very, very important, and this is in fact in the industry widely used. And of course, there are things to tune this KPKI and KD. There are fractional PID controllers. So we have, instead of 3 parameters, we have 5 parameters. And now the tuning of this parameter is again by researchers. They are going through by this evolutionary technique or artificial intelligence technique, right? So these are being applied to get the optimal value of this KPKI and KD. So this becomes the adds the number of flavors to this control technology. So here I have taken one such example as I'm using this FLC and PID in parallel, right? In parallel. So you can see here this how this one of the example I have taken here in this fuzzy logic lets the engineer design supervisory or multivariable controllers from the operator experience and experimental results rather than from the mathematical models. See here, and let's say if the number of these units are there, then this each single process variable is kept constant by a PID controller, while the set of values for the PID controller come from the fuzzy logic system. So this could also be one way of utilizing this fuzzy controller, PID controller in parallel. So this arrangement is typical for some cases like control of several temperature zones of an oven or the control of oxygen concentrations in different zones of wastewater basins. Right. So this is just to present you one example. And this is the this control block diagram. It's the dynamic system output, and then this RT is the command reference point. This error into the controller, and the control input being generated, and finally given to the dynamic system, which is having some disturbance as well. So this is showing some picture of this, and this is through some Mamdani sort of thing. So you have this again membership function, and this is the table is depicting some sort of rules. So in this manner, so you can see there are 25 rules are there. So you can just think of the rule something like if the this is negative low, then this and this negative low, then the output will be positive low, something like that. So these are the real rule bases which are in fact incorporated in this FIR to produce your desired output. This is one such screenshot for this MATLAB screenshot. In fact, so here this the fuzzy logic controller. This in this MATLAB, and this is the symbol for that fuzzy logic controller, and inside that, there is inbuilt Simulink block, and in that you have to again select various parameters and everything you have to set, and the membership function you have to decide input and output, everything you have to decide, and then you can just import on the panel in which you have just made this block diagram, something like this. Just to, this is now the few advantages of the fuzzy logic control system. So in our discussions, we have again we have already discussed few of the advantages. Let us summarize it again. No need for the mathematical model, less sensitive to the system fluctuation. Design objectives difficult to express mathematically can also be incorporated in fuzzy controller through linguistic rules. The implementation is very, very simple and it is straightforward, of course. There is again a summary of this application of FLCs here. This ride is smoothness control, this braking system, copier quality control. There are a lot of application, traffic control, steam engine, aircraft, file control, missile control. This number you can just see. Now, just I will be taking 5 to 6 more minutes of you. I think this lecture is going to be very, very lengthy. So I believe I'm not boring you. Just trying to give you the whole information of this fuzzy logic technology so that if uh, if you are not familiar at all even, so you can just begin with. Right. So this fuzzy logic toolbox, which is available in this MATLAB, this our MATLAB toolbox, this fuzzy logic toolbox is there, and it provides, in fact, this fuzzy inference system FIS, and you can integrate this to the Simulink block. There are other ways also possible to it. You can create standalone C programs and that call on fuzzy systems built with MATLAB and all. So these toolboxes are provided with basically three categories of tools and Simulink blocks. These are some listing of command line FIS functions. You can just explore. There are the membership functions. And this is the graphical user interface editor, what we call a GUI tool, graphical user interface tool. So I'll just type fuzzy on this command prompt. So this basic FIS editor will appear and it will look like something. And I told you that it has two kinds. You can choose that. One is Mamdani, another is Sudano. So here it is written as in the FIS editor, and you can save it through some giving some name. And this file date and view, you can set this through this option. And what you do is you need to set the input and then the output. You set the number of inputs, you set the range of the input and output, and then this is again input one, input two, and this you can all set. They are very user friendly. This one is the Suzano type, and lot of the supplementary materials are also available with this MATLAB directory. So and you'll get to know all about this editors, how to set and all. There are very video lectures also available. There are plenty of things are available nowadays. You can just go through those things if you are interested in this, Baji. This is what a kind of membership functions, how we are going to set. You can use this the type of different type of membership function. You can name this as MF1 or MF2, something like that. You can choose the type here, say here the type as triangular membership function or Gaussian, something like that. Then finally, you come to the rule editor, and in this way you try to write the rules. So if for input one, if you set for the MF1 as, and you can use the connective as or and then you can, so depending on the number of inputs you have created, some boxes will be here and the output boxes will be here. And you can just this, you can just click and select. If input is MF1, then output is MF1. Here is single input, single output. There could be multiple input and multiple output. And you can, again, this add rules, you can delete rules or change rules. So whatever you feel like you can do in this system. And these are all very user friendly. So this way you incorporate the editor with the rule basis. So this way your FIS editor has now been designed with the kind of rules which you have now provided to this. Now, this you can integrate with this control simulating block by importing it from there, and then you can run it. You can see the FIS rule here. So this is one snap just to show you, and this is FIS surface viewer. This all you can. These are the kind of membership simulating blocks. This is finally what the simulating blocks looks like, and this is all about my presentation. And thank you all. Thank you for the present hearing. And it's now over to the organizer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Participants, you can ask anything you have any query directly to sir.
I believe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Uday sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
बहुत अच्छा लगा. I am in Gorakhpur, sir. गोरखपुर में हैं इस समय.
Okay, sir. Just come to meet us.
Thank you, sir. बहुत अच्छा लगा आपका lecture. Very nice.
Thank you. I'm just a beginner of, I'm not, in fact, the expert of this fuzzy. While pursuing my MTech, I did little on this fuzzy logic, and a kind of course is here. I am teaching to the student, but this I found it little bit. Actually, I teach in fact, this fuzzy logic is complete unit around 15 to let's say 17 or 18 lectures. But I have just tried to capture the most important things, and I try to prepare this lecture in such a way that it may be useful for the beginner one. So if those who are the experts, so they might have not get so much, but those who are beginners, I believe they have got at least a glimpse of what is all about this fuzzy logic. And if you will refer to some literature or some lecture, you will not find any difficulty, at least in the philosophy of this fuzzy logic control, right? So thank you all for your presenting once again, and thank you the organizer as well. So,
Thank you, sir. There is not anything that you are beginner. We have learned so much from your lecture, participant. And anyone? Okay, sir. I think there is no query. We will share your email ID to the participants. If they have any problem, they can contact through the mail.
okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.